This is Energy Quick Chat, where we rub minds with stakeholders in the energy markets. I am Justina Okechukwu. Now, Kenya is racing against time to speed up the development of its oil reserves in the Turkana-Lokicha Basin through a field development plan, even as concerns continue to rise about the damage caused by fossil fuels on the environment. This comes after British oil exploration firm Tullow Oil announced that its joint venture partners, Africa Oil Corp and Total Energies, pulled out of the project. According to Cabinet Secretary David Chirchir, the country needs to move quickly within the window available in order to bring the project to a close. Joining me now to discuss this is Muturi Kamau, the National Network Coordinator of the Kenya Oil and Gas Working Group. Thank you for joining me, Muturi. Now, give me an insight into these developments and why there have been further delays in commercializing Kenya's oil projects.
Thank you very much, Justina. First and foremost, the oil upstream petroleum developments for Kenya have it's been quite a journey. It started with so much pomp and expectation in 2012 when Tullow announced commercial quantities of crude oil. And after that, we saw the flagging of crude oil trucks, or rather trucks carrying crude oil from the South Basin to Mombasa County through the early oil pilot scheme. And the current cabinet secretary himself has come out to say in a briefing to the Senate that Kenya made revenues of estimated value at $25 million US dollars, while the project costs about $50 million plus US dollars. So the project was, as the government says, it wasn't a profit-making venture, but rather to get Kenya's crude oil to the international markets to see how it would operate in terms of the competitive global hydrocarbon market. Second of all, to improve the infrastructure in the Turkana County. Because at that particular time, a lot of the roads had not been upgraded to tarmac, and thus the trucks needed access. And what better opportunity to improve the existing infrastructure than to do that? Third is to ensure that the company undertook extended well testing. So extended well testing was to ensure that the company really, Tullow and its joint venture partners, understood the reservoir within the South Lokicha Basin. However, come COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a huge scale down of operations in Turkana, with Tullow pretty much scaling down completely in terms of operations. And currently, there is nothing much that is happening. Recent news is that we've had is that Africa Oil and Total Energies have actually pulled out of the project, leaving Tullow with 100% stake in the three oil blocks, 10B, 10BB, and 13T. However, Tullow had made a statement stating that it was looking for a strategic partner to develop the hydrocarbon quantities. However, as it is right now, Tullow submitted the field development plan last in December, and then updated a more revised version about 2 months ago. And what right now is actually pending is for, according to the Petroleum Act, the company needs to submit the field development plan together with the production sharing contract to the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, as well as the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. And the CS is supposed to review this together with the two agencies, and then submit the FDP together with the production sharing contracts to Parliament for ratification. That is what is actually anchored in the Petroleum Act 2019. there's still quite a bit that needs to happen before we get there. The environmental and social impact assessment license for the Lamu-Lokja crude oil pipeline was awarded by NEMA sometime in 2020, I believe. But the NEMA is still yet to undertake public hearings for the upstream environmental and social impact assessment, as well as for the makeup water pipeline, because these are three projects that are coming into one. The makeup water pipeline from the Takwel Gorge to the South Lokita oilfield basin, the upstream development, which comprises of the setting up of the central processing facility, the central facilities area, pretty much what they call the area of interest. And as they undertake production, they still intend to undertake more exploration within the two blocks, actually between the area of Twiga, Amosing, and Gamia. And then we have the Lamu-Lokja crude oil pipeline, where they've actually finalized the front-end engineering design in 2019. And so what is just waiting for is to check some of the boxes in terms of getting the relevant licenses and approvals from government, as well as ensuring that they build enough capital to ensure that that project is actually going to proceed. Currently, the Minister of Energy and Petroleum, together with the National Land Commission, is actually in the process of undertaking land acquisition within the LAPSET corridor, the Lamu Ethiopia South Sudan transport corridor, and that is where the Lamu-Lokja crude oil pipeline is actually going to lie. So they have been undertaking those consultations with communities. So what is just remaining is for Turkana, for instance, the Turkana County government has actually submitted the inventory to the National Lands Commission. And so we are just waiting for communities to mobilize themselves and undertake whatever measures that are necessary according to the Community Land Act in order to now have their land registered so that they can actually benefit from this compensation.
Right. Now, there's been climate clapbacks from activists. Now, how has that pushback from them impacted oil and gas investments in Kenya? And what steps have been taken to address these issues?
All right. So, first and foremost, we currently have a new government regime in place. And in its manifesto, prior to the elections, the current head of state had actually mentioned that the country, his vision for the country is that by 2030 we have full transition, have transitioned fully to renewables, to renewable energy. There are quite a number of measures that have been taken. One is to ensure that we have the governance frameworks in place, ensuring that we have policies and legislations and regulations that speak to this transition. Of course, some critics have come out to say that we do need the hydrocarbon development or the development of fossil fuels to support this transition to renewables. However, as a country, we are yet to even reach development. So it's just quite a bit of exploration that has happened. In terms of the impact of the sector to climate and its foreseeable impact or implication, the Petroleum Act came into effect at the right time, because when Talo and its partners were undertaking the early oil pilot scheme, when they were doing the extended well testing, there was quite a bit of flaring that we had actually experienced, and we had raised concerns as civil society organizations. Furthermore, in subsequent discussions with Talo and its partners, they had mentioned that in the initial 5 years of production, that gas would be flared, but that was before the Petroleum Act had actually been enacted. Right now, the Petroleum Act is ironclad in terms of ensuring that if a company is to flare, it has to be undertaken under certain very strict circumstances. Licenses have to be awarded by the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, as well as the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority have a very crucial role to play. So we have not seen anything like that happen, even with the exploration in Lamu on Pat Island by Zarar Oil and Gas in Kajiado County. So companies right now are mandated by the current law in place to find out alternatives to use that particular gas. So that's one major milestone. However, it's subject to debate because there's so much push, there's so much in terms of. I mean, as a country, we submitted our national determined contribution sometime in late 2021. And so I think the current government is at a place where it has a vision for climate action. However, on the flip side is that, the government still has come out to state that it intends to open up 5 additional blocks for oil exploration. And as it is, the former governor of Meru County, Kiretu Murongi, has been appointed the chairperson of the National Corporation of Kenya, and he has expressly stated that oil exploration and production is what will power this country. And he's even, gotten money allocated to the National Corporation to undertake exploration within Block 14T in Kajiado County. So while on one hand we are trying to live up to our climate change commitments, on the other hand there's still interest in developing our hydrocarbon reserves. One thing to note is that there's quite a lot of expectation from communities living adjacent to this oil and gas infrastructure projects. And so, to come and state that we want to now tap into renewables, then the community still feel that they need to benefit from the hydrocarbons within their lands. And so it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. However, as these discussions go on, we have seen a haste, especially with this new government regime, to fast-track pending bills. We, for instance, have quite a lot of discussion around the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill that has come in to try and address the issue of revenue sharing. While the Petroleum Act stipulates or rather provides that national government is going to get 75% of the revenues, while county governments are going to get 20% and communities 5%. The Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill is trying to harmonize these revenue sharing formulas across all sectors, and the ratio of 60% to counties and 40% to communities. And so it's a conversation that is actually ongoing. The bill is yet to pass the third reading, and hopefully that is actually going to come and address some of the issues that are coming up, such as revenue sharing. Other thematic areas such as local content, we have a local content bill, we have a public participation bill. The ministry is supposed to publish the petroleum regulations in the course of the year for public participation. So in as much as the active exploration by oil and gas companies is not happening right now, there's quite a bit that is happening at national level in terms of ensuring that we have strengthened and proper policy guidelines to govern the petroleum sector.
Right. You mentioned, thank God you mentioned the other projects that are ongoing in the upstream sector. Now, I wanted you to dig more into what projects are expected to come online in Kenya anytime soon, and how any of Kenya mitigate the fuel prices in the country.
Well, that's quite an uphill task, because as it is right now, the president, first and foremost, just assented to the Finance Act, which has driven everything sky high, not just fuel, but the cost of food and everything. But the overall expectation was and still is that these hydrocarbon reserves are going to come in to safeguard from a number of things. In 2019, the National Treasury published the draft Sovereign Wealth Fund Bill and Policy. And the vision of that particular bill was to do three things. One, to ensure that revenues from extractives are actually used to stabilize the Kenyan economy from economic shocks, such as what we saw with COVID-19. Two, for future generations, and three, for infrastructure development. And that particular bill had borrowed heavily from the Norwegian pension fund. And so, while we, for instance, have in the mining sector revenues that are currently being held by Treasury, they are unfortunately not accessible for the public because of the lack of existing frameworks to actually address the revenue sharing. So, besides the money just being used to ensure that development happens, there is the long-term goal that is supposed to ensure that future generations also benefit from the current hydrocarbons reserves, considering that it's a finite resource. So we as a country are still trying to figure out, as same as our counterparts in Uganda and Tanzania, we're still trying to figure out how best to manage these hydrocarbon resources, and what better way than to ensure that we have proper governance mechanisms in place. This notwithstanding, we will also need the current political leadership to have a change of mindset in terms of even ensuring or ring-fencing certain percentages of revenues that can actually go to investment in renewables. So that is one of the things that as civil society we are really trying to push and tell government that while and exploration is going on, why don't we set aside some of these funds to ensure that we can actually support renewable energy projects, including solar, wind power. And so until we get to the point where we shall actually produce and sell our hydrocarbon reserves and actually get that money, then right now it's just about laying down those frameworks. I think one of the things is that we might not be too certain about is the cost of fuel prices going down, considering that in the previous government regime, what the government had actually done was to ensure that subsidies were actually placed on the price so that they can safeguard Kenyans from feeling that shock. But in the current head of state's fight against corruption, he came out to clearly state that no subsidies are actually going to be placed. While it is actually coming at a cost, but we hope that at some point the government will need to take certain drastic measures to ensure that is addressed, because when the price of fuel goes up, price of food goes up, price of everything goes up. Right now in Kenya, things have become really expensive, and we are really hoping that in the next 1 year, we shall see the change that has been envisioned by the current political regime.
All right, Muturi. Now, what's your overall outlook for the oil and gas markets in Kenya?
Yeah, I mean, it's highly dependent on whether we are able to access more hydrocarbon reserves. Without more exploration, that essentially means that we are going to be looking to an uncertain future. But considering that the fact that our neighbors in Uganda are intent on producing the hydrocarbon reserves, then it gives hope for countries such as Kenya to try and also ensure that there's a lot of exploration. Now, the catch is that even as this is happening, we need to be cognizant of the fact that there are conversations around climate change that are actually happening, and it puts us at a situation where we either need to make the decision to fully look for resources to actually develop our renewable energy sources, or to develop our hydrocarbon reserves. So it's either we strike a balance or we choose one that we're actually going to go with. Again, current government regime has clearly stated that one of the key priorities is how to ensure that we address climate change as a country. And so it's just wait and see how things look like. But I, as someone who's been in the space for a while, the long-term vision is that we shall still need investors or investment to come into the country to develop our hydrocarbon reserves because of the expectations by the communities, the expectations by the people in changing the lives and the livelihoods of the people who actually live adjacent to it. So that is actually what is foreseeable. But as this happens, of course, the resultant effects of exploration in some of these areas. One of the key issues that has been there for the longest time in Turkana, for instance, is on hazardous waste management. 13 years, and we are still yet to figure out how to do that. So with the upstream environmental and social impact assessment study, one of the things that it comes to address is ensuring that investors can actually set up integrated waste handling facilities to ensure that some challenges like that can actually be addressed.
There's a solution to that anytime soon. Thank you, Muturi Kamau, for those insights and thoughts into the Kenyan oil and gas markets. Muturi Kamau, National Network Coordinator at the Kenya Oil and Gas Working Group. And that's it from me, Justina Okechukwu. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.